what's up, folks? Welcome back to the Winning Drive, and welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by the young prodigy, a lifetime Longhorn C.J. Vogel, and of course our coach, former high school football coach at Bernie, Capel, Brownwood, Rotan, Belton. Also played college football at Abilene Christian, coached there as well, and was on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head football coaches. And today you can catch his work at ShipleyRanches.com, and he's back. All right, he's back in the States. It is our coach,
senores. Hola.
Hey, Coach, how was that vacation, man? How was that vacation down there?
I think we planned our trip 1 week too early.
Yeah, you're coming back to the cold, Coach.
This week than last week, but it was unbelievably awesome.
That's good, Coach.
That's never been to Las Ventanas in Cabo. You need to go.
Okay, there you go. Recommendation from the coach. I like that. All right. That's pretty good stuff. All right, so we'll get Coach's thoughts, of course, about obviously the Texas matchup coming up against Ohio State. We'll talk about that. We'll also get some thoughts from CJ, not only about Texas Ohio State, but about the latest transfer portal commitment for the Longhorns. Got themselves 2 D linemen now, and obviously a lot of Longhorn fans are concerned about the lack of depth the Longhorns are going to have in the 2025 roster with the interior defensive line, where they got themselves another interior defensive lineman yesterday via the transfer portal. We'll talk about that. Also, it's going to be an abbreviated show today. That's my fault mostly, but an abbreviated show today, so we're probably going to get out of here probably closer to 4 o'clock, around 3:50 or something like that. So whatever you got, guys, whatever questions you got, whatever comments you want to throw them out there. We'll address as many of them as we can. You know how this works. Super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt our show at any time. Just throw those out there. Hey, what's up, AJJ? Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Jordan. Appreciate all you guys for joining us. I mean, how lucky are we that we still talking about actual football games this deep into January? It's a beautiful thing for the Longhorns. All right, beautiful thing for Longhorn fans too. All right, CJ, let's talk about before we get into Texas Ohio State, which I'm sure it's going to take up the bulk of the show today and the bulk of the rest of the show. So, as a matter of fact, speaking of the bulk of the shows, let's thank our friends at Duck Camp real quick. Boom, that's right, folks. Our friends at Duck Camp, they are actually, once again, for the last 2 weeks now, and going on 3 weeks, they have been the sponsor of all of our live shows previewing the college football playoff and this week's matchup against Ohio State. So very, very grateful to our friends over at Duck Camp for being a part of the On Texas football family. Duck Camp is a premium outdoor brand that produces premium outdoor goods, so you can outdoor good for the outdoor spirit in each and every one of us. Duck Camp is dedicated to providing the best outdoor goods, whether you're an avid hunter, you're an avid fisherman, or whether you're like me, you want to fake it till you make it. You want to hang out around the campfire. They got some great stuff, folks. I not only have the hats, but I love the hoodies they have. I got a couple of those. It is really, really high quality material. Wifey's a little bit jealous. She when I get my Duck Camp gear in the mail, she's like, "Oh, that feels so good." She's like, "Is that for me?" No, it ain't for you. It's for me. All right, so I got to order Wifey's and Duck Camp stuff too. So check it out for yourself. They got a great fall selection, and they got a cool color that's really close to burnt orange. It ain't burnt orange, but it's very close, as close as you can get without a cease and desist. That's duckcamp.com. Check out their new fall selection, a brand that understands the culture of outdoor living and the good times and good friends that come along with living an outdoor lifestyle. Thank you very much to duckcamp.com for being our sponsor of all of our weekly live shows this week, previewing the college football playoffs. Thank you very much. All right, CJ, let's start. And I don't know if Coach had a chance to even watch this young man a little bit since he committed. It was just 24 hours ago. North Carolina transfer D lineman Travis Shaw committed to the Longhorns yesterday. 6'6", 340. I mean, he looks the part. That's for sure. What have you learned about the latest commitment from the Longhorns via the transfer portal, CJ?
Yeah, big dude, Rod. Big dude. And he carries that weight relatively well, whenever he moves. And the first thing I noticed when watching him, I went through a couple games, the NC State game, the Florida State game, Wake Forest, I think he had a couple tackles for a loss in that game. Just looking back at what kind of stood out to him whenever he did make splash plays was the quickness off the line of scrimmage. And at that size, to have a first or second step that gets you deep into that backfield is really important. Now,
yeah,
the big thing is, especially in pass rush, is he's not a big pass rush guy. At 340 pounds, not many guys are going to be pass rush guys. But you see the first step, you see the second step. What can he do after that? is going to be big and important for me going into the spring because, look, let's be honest, I don't think any of us here have moved at 340, right? 500 or that 5-star athleticism is showcased by that, right? You see it with that first step or two, but after that, it becomes a much different. Can you get the hands off you? Can you finish a play? Can you chase down a play on the backside? Again, not many people can, but that's where you see kind of his strengths and weaknesses right now. First and foremost, run stopper, and he's a rock, right? That's exactly what Texas had a year ago with Devondre Sweat. This year, obviously, it's been good. The run defense has been good. It's not been lights out like it was in 2023. But you have more of that rock ability, like a Bill Norton in my eyes. And so Bill Norton with higher athleticism and a higher ceiling is where I'm kind of sitting right now in terms of what he will do for the Longhorns next year. Nice. Now, Bill Norton only played about 10 to 12, 15 snaps per game. And, of course, Travis Shaw is coming off of a 340-snap season where if you do the math, he's sitting right around 25 to 30. So I do think the ceiling is higher. I think the athleticism is higher. It's all about what can you get outside of just putting him in there on goal line and short distances. But otherwise, big-time depth piece for the Longhorns.
Is he a guy that can he play multiple shades in the inside, or is he playing a 0-1-3? Have you seen him play more more versatility inside?
He's normally a guy that lines up right on the left side of the center or right on the right side of the center. So kind of in that A gap. Yeah. Interestingly enough, they did move him around quite a bit at North Carolina, right? He had about 280 snaps lined up in the B gap. But normally what you see from him is he's also anchored in with another rock in that North Carolina defense. Both of those guys are sitting right around 325 to 330 that they like to play often. But he also had 30 snaps right over the tackle, which I think might have just added to their North Carolina scheme a little bit.
I like that. Yeah. And I do think they're at least based on recruiting and then the way they're developing players, they want guys that can play multiple shades. Look at the way they're using Sorrell coach, Alfred Collins. I think they want some guys, and look at this defensive line class they're bringing in. These are guys that can play multiple shades up front. Coach, let me ask you just about the importance, because, this guy's more of a run stopper. That's what CJ's kind of telling. This guy's a run stopper. The importance of having those guys who can plug a gap and just stuff the run when necessary. How important is that to a defense? Because I think Texas actually has pass rushers now where they don't necessarily need as many pass rushers. They need guys that can stuff the run.
Yeah, I like the fact that we're bringing in a big guy. He's every bit as big as Sweat, I guess, isn't he? I mean,
340, 350, 340, something like that. Yeah.
I just like the fact that it makes our defensive line more versatile. It gives us good depth. It gives us a specialty, a guy who is in my mind, what little film I've seen on him, he is a run stop, obviously, type guy. He's not a guy that's going to do what Colin Simmons does or do what those smaller inside quick guys do. But there are times that you need, especially, playing a team that is going to bash you and just run at you without necessarily I don't know how well it would have worked against Arizona State. They had a good dual threat quarterback, but a guy who, if you don't have a dual threat quarterback, he certainly, I think, has more value to you in there as a run stopper.
No, to your point, Coach, I guess this is a great transition to Texas versus Ohio State, honestly, because, last season, Texas, when you had Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, you had the best defense in the country at stopping the run with a light box. Light box meaning you have fewer defenders than they have blockers. Well, you can have fewer defenders than they have blockers when you got Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, because it's going to take them, 2 to block your 1, and then you flip the numbers advantage or at least even it out. When I was watching that Michigan game, because that's the game that if you want to look at a team that was able to discombobulate Will Howard and stump the running game for Ohio State, that's the game to watch. They really did a lot with light boxes. To your point, Coach, talking about how valuable those guys are to stuff the run. They were able to stuff the run with light to even boxes. And I think Texas versus Ohio State, I think that might be one of my top keys, guys, They got because you listen, you can't Jeremiah Smith and Egg Booker, those guys are elite NFL caliber wide receivers. Both those guys will be drafted in the top 20, 25 picks, and Jeremiah Smith, whenever he goes, will be drafted in the top 10. He's one of them type dudes. Michigan understood that. They kept their safeties back so they could defend the deep routes and the vertical routes against those guys, help out their corners. But they had two war daddies inside. They got, Kenneth Grant, they got Mason Grant, they got guys who you have to devote two guys to block one of those guys, even out the numbers advantage. Can Texas do that in this game, Coach? Can they neutralize the Ohio State run game with light and even boxes? Because they can, they got a real shot.
Yeah, I would like to think so. There are a lot of people that look at this game and look at, you compare scores, and you look at what Ohio State did last week. Obviously, they're certainly trending in the right direction, but they matched up really well with Oregon. It's all about matchups. We saw that with Georgia. It's all about matchups. I think we match up well with them. I don't know that it's going to hold out for the entire game, but I feel like we match up well with them. And I think we're certainly going to try to start the game with a light box and see if we can handle it. And I think if we can, you'll continue to see that. If it gets to the point where we can't, then obviously we're going to have to roll the dice. Bring somebody else in there and hope our corners and safeties can shut them down.
Oh, yeah.
Boom. And right on time, right when we're talking about D tackles and light boxes and demanding double teams, war daddies, and all this kind of stuff. Boom. My man Stevie Lee, lifetime Longhorn, and my former teammate and our D-line aficionado, he joins us. Perfect timing, Stevie. Appreciate you, brother.
I don't know if I'm an aficionado anymore, man.
Hey, man, I'm gonna call you that because you know more about D-line play than I do. All right, we D-line play than most of us, so I want to get your thoughts about it. But first of all, just give me your thoughts about how the team played. Give me your thoughts about Arizona State before we dive into Ohio State.
Yeah, man, I was just about to say I gotta eat a little because I gave us 21 points right last week, but it looked like we were getting that way. We were going that way, man, and then all of a sudden we kind of got stalled and we gave them some life, and I think this is really important sometimes when you jump on somebody, jump on them and stay on them, I think that that punt block that ended up hitting the kicker twice kind of pulled some air out of our sails a little bit, and so it kind of it didn't snowball from there, but it didn't reinflate from there. You know what I mean? So we were on our way for a big victory, and people were looking at hotels for Arlington already because I did. And then at the end of the game, I'm like, what did I just do? You know what I mean? So man, but in the same breath, I'd rather my team going into this game with that game behind us because we won the game, but we got to practice like we lost that game because we did. All right. Ohio State going to go into this next game all high and mighty because they won handedly. They did everything that they wanted to do. We have to go in and, Rod, get yelled at.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No, it happened in Michigan. The Michigan game was that for Ohio State. They've been a different team since they got embarrassed. Coach, you know that happens with a team where sometimes you just need to hit that low. You need to hit rock bottom a little bit, and that was rock bottom for Ohio State, losing to Michigan again with Harbaugh gone and all the players gone, and not a bad Michigan team, but a below average Michigan team.
Yeah.
And Coach, that's why I think they've responded now. They got that pride. They're playing their best football right now after being embarrassed like that. It happens.
And that's what
a couple times.
that's what needs to happen to us in terms we haven't been. I mean, it was a little bit embarrassing that we let Arizona State come back, but they're scrappy. Gosh, Friday, they're scrappy. A great football coach. He is all class. I don't want to get into that a whole lot other than the fact that a lot of people are saying we shouldn't have won that game. And then now that Ohio State has blown out their last opponent, we're the underdog. Perfect. Hey, we play better as underdogs. You know, we're not ever ranked number one very long. We blow it somehow. It might just be coincidence, but I think that our guys are going to be motivated because not many people are giving us the chance, you know, to win the game. And I think that's disrespectful to our players. No, we don't play great week in and week out, but we find a way to win. And you cannot close the door on a team that finds a way to win. And then you put a chip on the shoulder by being underdog, and what's on the line and what's at stake at this game. I would honestly rather it be this way than us be like we were last week, you know, 14-point favorites or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I would rather be the underdog, and I think it stands to reason. Anybody that's been around football at all knows that when you got a chip on your shoulder, you got something to motivate you. You're a better football team.
Yep. No, that's why I'm coming into this game smiling. Are you guys going to the game? Because I'm going to be there.
Nice. I like it. No, I haven't decided whether CJ's definitely going to be there. I want to go to the game. So I'm still in the phase. I'm deciding.
I need to get on the sideline with CJ so I can hold his microphone or something, man. So I need media passes.
You folks, let me just say this. You folks that aren't going to the game, you can join Aaron Hogan and I, and who else is going to be on there?
Yep, I'll be on there. Jerry Hamilton will be on there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Watch with us.
Yeah.
It's a great way to watch the game. I don't know that we bring to the table exactly the same thing the Mannings bring when they do it, but it's a lot of fun and it's a lot of insight. And with Jerry and Aaron and Rod, we have a good time.
They do. I'm
sure y'all are better.
No, I don't know about that either, but it is a good time though. Stevie, let me ask you this, because you're a D-line. I need to know, because one of the things happening with Ohio State right now is they've reinvented their offense, especially their running game, since the Michigan loss. And in the last 2 weeks, you look at their two running backs, Trevion Henderson and Judkins. In the last 2 weeks, they basically become a heavy power gap scheme team. Those two running backs have over 80% of their runs in the last two games have been gap power schemes, right? And they're usually a 55% zone gap scheme. They usually divide it up and are pretty balanced. So now they're going heavy gap, and they're going heavy counter specifically. Apparently 50%, based on Pro Football Focus numbers, 50% of their runs in the last two games have been counters. Like that's a lot. And they're around 15% during the regular season. So they've really reinvented themselves. D lineman, how do you stop counter?
Oh man.
What are you taught to defend a counter play?
For me, man, it's penetration.
Okay.
Getting up the field so he doesn't have a place to cut back and counter, right? So putting the defensive or offensive lineman in the lap of the running back. So and then again, playing with your eyes, man. You really got to play with your eyes because you just said 55% they do both, right? So fitting, playing with your eyes, and shedding. And shed, I could. If I had a camera in the yard, man, I could show y'all.
In the office.
Fit, drop your butt, fit, and keep your eyes in the backfield, man, and play with your eyes. But and the linebackers have to and actually safety too have to come up and fill gaps, man, because running a counter play, you can have your assignment, but that one seam can break something, you know what I mean? So good assignment, gap football, but also playing with your eyes.
Okay.
It's going to be big for Texas because, again, you look back at where Ohio State struggled this year, and there haven't been many, right? This is a Final Four team in the country, but the Michigan game and the Nebraska game, two games where they didn't have a lot of success offensively, is because their run game didn't get going. And I actually think there's some pretty similar offensive outputs between Ohio State and Texas. When the run game doesn't show up, it's tough sledding, right? When it's there, it's tough for anybody to stop those two teams. Stevie, have you seen enough from Quinn Ewers to, if for whatever reason Texas is unable to get 50, 75 yards, whatever it is on the ground, that Quinn Ewers can put this team on his back like we saw him in the fourth quarter and overtime against Arizona State? To do that against Ohio State, that feels like a tall task.
It is a taller task, but I think he can do it. I still have faith in Quinn Ewers, man. There's some people out there talking about this and that, but the kid got us here, and what Coach Royal says, we got to dance with who brought you, right? Yep. So he's doing well, and he could get it done. Now, the bigger question that you didn't ask, CJ, is what do I think about our run game this game coming up? I think we get right back on track. Okay. So this is a moot point. So I think we get right back on track. These kids, Flood is going to be yelling at these guys all week. I think I heard him right here, and I'm up in Round Rock. So, so he's in these dudes' tails. They did not show up last game. They did not, and that's just period, right? And so they're going to need to come out and show exactly what they could do against a high-powered defense like Ohio State. And I think they're up to the task, man. We got some really good offensive linemen that can, if they get their mind right, they can dig out anybody out of the trenches, man. And I really think that they will. I look to see both our running backs having good games, good solid games, and Quinn being opening up the offensive pass playbook to where he can do whatever he wants to, because we can get whatever we want to on the ground. Yeah. That's just me, man. I don't think that we see two bad running games in a row from our offensive line.
Pretty good point. I got a follow-up for you, Stevie, and Rod, I'll ask this to you too, but when you've been a team that has had the target on your back, you're kind of that top dog in the standings throughout the entire season, is it easy to just flip the switch and say, okay, now nobody believes in us, and again, in which we're an underdog? Or how much of an actual, kind of mental gymnastics is Sarkisian and his coaching staff going to have to put on his team this week to come in and say, all right, get that extra trip going, because this isn't a game that anybody believes in you to win after basically being the guy all year?
Yeah, see, I don't think that coaches are going to coach them to the bad things that they did last week, or the things that didn't work out. They wanted to work out last week, I should say. These kids are going to turn it on themselves. They know what they did last week. They know what they had in front of them and almost lost last week. Yeah, I think they'll turn it all on themselves. This is one of those weeks where you have a player-only team meeting and say, listen, guys, our goals is right there in front of us. Guys, we go out here and we play to the best of our ability. Every play can go for a touchdown. Every defensive play can go for a tackle for a loss. Let's go and do it. And it's on us. It's the man on field. It's good on good, but we're better. And let's go do it. And I think these kids have the heart to do that, man. When I saw them in spring ball, the coaches weren't doing anything, but the players were fighting.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Each other. Like, I think they're looking at chops to get one more game in and go to this national championship game, man. I really feel that's why I'm going to the game.
Yeah. You think it's gonna be a celebration, huh?
It's gonna be a celebration, man. And hey, golly, I didn't want to say that, but yeah, I said it.
All right. Got to be confident, man. Got to be confident.
No question.
I love it. Well, Stevie, thank you so much for joining us as always, man. Really appreciate the knowledge, and I appreciate your time because we know you're busy. So be safe on that drive. Tell your lovely family we said hi, and hopefully we'll see you down there.
No question. Hook 'em, guys.
Thanks, Stevie.
That's Lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee. We appreciate Stevie Lee for joining us and talking some ball with us. All right, let's get some questions because we got super chats here. We're going to some super chats and questions before we end our live stream. Before we do that, let's thank our friends over at Flat Creek. Flat Creek Estate Winery. Did you know the most awarded wine in Texas is actually the vineyard closest to Austin? That's right, folks. Flat Creek Estate Winery is just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award this year for their vintage wine, Super Texan. Super Texan is now available at your local Specs. They also have a beautiful display of Flat Creek wines at your local Central Market. I saw that as well because we do some shopping there. Of course, Flat Creek not only produces amazing wines, but it's a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. Perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with that very special significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. livestream.com. Thank you very much for sponsoring the winning drive. All right, let's get to Super Chats. We got Burt Reynolds Jr. Thank you, Burt Reynolds Jr. for the Super Chat. Said, our fate hinges on AC, VB, AH, and LL performances. All right.
I agree. Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Anthony Hill, Leon Galafal. You got to stop the run. You got to make life difficult and put the ball in Will Howard's hands. I know that's almost playing right into one of the strengths of Ohio State, but if you're able to sit back with 6 or 7 versus having to bring up a few guys to stop the run, look, I think that's a big key. And Rod, maybe we'll talk about this a little bit more in the preview as well, but I'm starting to think that Texas goes big in the box with Jelani McDonald again at nickel rather than Jalen McGilbo, just in the sense that you can play a little bit more of that run stoppages off the outside, something that Ohio State likes to do as well.
That is good. Okay, this is because I agree with you. I love that big nickel package they rolled out versus Arizona State. By the way, Arizona State running a lot of power concept. They were running 80% power concepts when Texas in their last 2 games prior to playing Texas. Right, so they wanted Jelani McDonald down there to be able to fit the run better. This is because I would say Jelani McDonald, even though he's a really good player, if they put Jeremiah Smith in that slot and want to throw in early downs, you're gonna be so screwed.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit worried of putting somebody there just because against Arizona State, you had nobody to worry about defending because they didn't have any elite wideouts. Their best wideout was hurt. What about Janae Barrett in the slot?
And go Holmes out wide?
Because think about it. They're putting Jeremiah Smith in the slot during these playoffs at a higher clip. It's close to a 40% rate he's in the slot in these playoffs as opposed to regular season. Honestly, that might be a better option. You know, Janae can tackle. He tackled really well. He ain't Jelani McDonald. He's not as physical, but he's a sure tackler. I think I'd rather that because I don't want them to catch us slipping, putting Jeremiah Smith in the slot, Egbuka in the slot on Jelani McDonald. Nothing against Jelani McDonald, but that exactly right. They're gonna be feasting on that. So I'd put Janae Barron there if I was freaking out about run, and then maybe put Janae Barron on 3rd downs, put him back out wide. But if you have the NASCAR package in, you keep him in there. Gavin Holmes is a better coverage player than Jelani McDonald, and you want your coverage defenders out there to have to defend Jeremiah Smith and Egbuka. I don't disagree with you, but that's I might get funky that way, man. Honestly,
that's fair.
Because I agree with you, though. You don't. I think they may come at. They're going to come after Gilbo and come after Malik Muhammad anyway. You need to have a plan for that. Bradford says both Tennessee and Oregon found some success between the numbers. Need Helm to have a big game. Also, both corners can be beat on defense. Shut the run down and make Howard beat you. That's what CJ said earlier, and I totally agree. You shut the run down and you force a guy that's 0-4 against Texas to beat you, coach, because Will Howard will turn into Will Spill the Pill if it's all on him. Now, he's been great this year, but he's great because he's got better players around him, better system. I still think Will Spill the Pill Howard somewhere in him, but Texas got to pull him out. They got to pull him out. Got to take.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Me too. And Helm again needs to come on. I mean, this guy is on the cusp of being in the presence of some of the greatest that have ever played.
I was going to say, Coach, you can say it, Coach. You can say it, Coach. I know you was getting ready to say it. When you getting ready to say Gunnar Helm, he's like one of the greatest.
No, that's what I'm talking about. No, Gunnar Helm. He's a big reason why if we win this game, he'll be a huge reason why. And as I said, he's on the cusp of being one of the best that's ever played.
Yep.
Here. And there's certainly an argument, to be made that he is, but been a lot of great ones. Not. I mean, we had some really dark years of the tight end when we didn't basically have one or use them. But boys, come back with a vengeance, and he is a key to this game. I agree with that super chat.
I got 2 questions here. One from a man, CB. Chris Bennett says, Rod, you were a great DB. How would you play and cover Smith? Thank you, CB, for the compliment. I appreciate that. And then Jonathan McKay says, very important question. Rod Babers lines up across from Jeremiah Smith. What happens? Okay. He wins. He's going to win more. If we went 10 times, I'm going to give him, I'm going to be humble here. I'm going to give him 6 wins.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm going to give him 6. He ain't gonna dominate me now. I'm gonna give him 6 weeks.
You've lost that edge you had that made you the player you are because you're turning into being a humble person. There ain't no great DB that I've ever met that was humble.
Hey, you know what? I told Jordan the same thing. I was like, Jordan, listen, man, I think you'll win more than your fair share because I got you as the GOAT. But don't get it twisted now. Rod B, I'm a hold on.
No. I put my money on Rod B every time.
I appreciate that, Coach. CB, how would I play him? I would say I would use my help if I was a DB. So if I got the sideline, I'm using a lot of the sideline. All right. I'm going to try to basically pin him to the sideline. But if I got inside help, you got to use your help with this guy. He's just that good. I mean, he's a guy you can have perfect coverage on. It don't matter because he can still make you look silly. So I would say you got to use your help. Texas doesn't play a lot of man-to-man. They play a lot of zone coverage. It'll be interesting to see if CJ's right and they can stop the run with the light box. They won't need to play any zone. But if they can't, they got to stack the box. They got to stack the box. That means they're going to be out nailing with those two NFL wideouts.
I was thinking about this earlier, Rod. Which receivers has Texas played this year that most closely resemble that of Jeremiah Smith? Would it be Andrew Armstrong? Is
maybe
who have they seen that it has been this big of a test? And that doesn't even include Emeka Egbuka and Carnell Tate.
Honestly, that's a great question. I don't know if they've seen anything close to this. I think you got to go back a couple of years since Texas has seen a receiver this good. I mean, listen, Romo Doomsday is probably he's not physically the same type in terms of productivity and impact.
Yeah.
I mean, Washington's Romo Doomsday was like that. He was a beast last year. Mm-hmm. But I think Jeremiah Smith is going to be better. I think we all agree with that. So that's the scary part about that dude. I think have a plan. They're going to go. They're not going to put him on Jadae Barron. That's stupid. They're going to try to get him on Malik Muhammad and Jalen Gilbo. And Texas needs to have a plan when they do that. I promise you. All right. Let me thank our friends over at South Point before we get ready to end our live stream. Sorry about the truncated edition here. Thank our friends over at South Point. Longhorn fans, you can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge has over 600 vehicles in stock, including a great selection of Ram 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is the one-stop shop. And right now, they have an amazing deal happening with over 50 Ram 2500s, all marked down with huge savings over at South Point Dodge. Go see their amazing selection in person of Out 35 in South Austin, or you can go online at southpointdodge.com. Austin's automotive everything. That's South Point Dodge. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is your one-stop shop. Thank you very much to southpointdodge.com. All right. We got a super chat here. Dax Kelm. Thank you, Dax. I have a weird feeling Sark comes out going deep. I just don't feel like he can help himself. Yeah, right? The Scorpion. It's in his nature. I'll throw this out there because CJ, you pointed this out too, and I agree with you. You can hit these. The corners are the weakest part of the Ohio State defense. Now, take that in. That's all relative because they don't really have a lot of weaknesses. It's like Texas defense, ain't a lot of weaknesses. But if you want to look at the most vulnerable and easiest place to exploit, it is actually the corners. And Dylan Gabriel, I went back and looked at it because he had so many deep balls he completed. You guys know on the deep passes. When Dylan Gabriel completed on those corners, man, he completed 7 of 9 passes 20 yards or more against the Ohio State secondary.
Wow.
And all those were on the outside. The corners can be had, right, guys? If you watch, I believe that. I think Dax is right about that. I think the corners can be had a little bit.
I agree. And I was actually just looking it up. Denzel Burke this year is allowing 79% of his targets to be completed. That's for about 10 yards per attempt. So look, that's not nothing. On the opposite side, Davison Igbinosun. Get to hear that name a lot because they're going to be saying that name a lot. 13 penalties called against him so far this year, Rod. Only one cornerback this year that Texas has seen in that same category, and it was Avion Terrell over at Clemson, who had 3 defensive pass interferences on Ryan Wingo and Matthew Golden combined. When Sark knows that a DB is handsy, they're targeting him.
I like that. Ooh, that's good. And okay, so I'm with you. I think the weakest element of the offense is their offensive line. So Texas, that's what they need to attack. Because of the injury, exactly. They've lost 3 starters on the offensive line, with 2 starters, and they moved another player around, so he's out of position. So essentially, that's why their offensive line is weaker. And then I think the corners. I think those are the 2 places you exploit on offense and defense for them. is the corners on defense, offensive line on offense. But we'll dive more into that when we do our preview. As a matter of fact, CJ and I'll be doing our preview. We'll have that coming out to you on Wednesday this week. So we'll have our preview and breaking it down. I got pages of stuff, so probably be the longest preview we've done this year. All right. Thank you guys for all of the super chats. Really appreciate it. Sorry we got to end things early today, but we'll be back tomorrow. If we missed any of your questions, please direct them to the Coffee and Football crew at 8 a.m. tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll also have our Tuesday live stream at 7 p.m. with myself, CJ Vogel, and Aaron Hogan. That'll be tomorrow. Thank you very much to duckcamp.com. Remember our friends over at Duck Camp. They're sponsoring all of this week's live shows previewing the college football playoff matchup. I just love saying it. I've been saying that for the last 3 weeks. The college football playoff matchup, this time coming up against Ohio State. So thank you very much to duckcamp.com and all of our sponsors, of course. Thank you to Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. And thank you very much to South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes doing a great job as always. Appreciate all you guys and all your questions and super chats. Appreciate all your participation. Thank you to CJ Vogel, and thank you as well to Coach Shipley. Glad you're back home and safe, Coach. And until next time, hook 'em horns.